Today, I'm going to tell you how to get cracked fast in Chapter 4. If you haven't played Fortnite in a while or feel like some of your skills are lacking, this is the video for you. If you need to improve aim, building, editing, peaks, piece control, mid-game fighting, whatever it is, timestamps are down below to hop to those sections, and I have tons of practices laid out for you. I tried to provide a bunch of different ways that you can practice, just so you have a variety and you're not getting bored doing the same thing every day. So yeah, let's hop into it. Step 1 to improving is trying to figure out what you feel weak at. There's always room to improve in every single skill in the game, but I usually like to focus in on 1 or 2 things at a time that I feel the weakest at in that moment. So think back to your gameplay, think about what you've been choking the most, whether it's your edits, your builds, your fighting IQ, your end games, whatever it is, and then prepare to work on it. The way I recommend going about this is focus on 1 or 2 of your weakest skills in your warm-up. You could focus on this for literally a week straight, and you'll probably see the improvements by the end of that week, and then you can skip to a different skill and add that to your warm-up. After your warm-up though, you don't need to be practicing in creative all day. I recommend like 30 minutes to an hour if you have that kind of time, and then just get to playing, whether it's 1v1s, 2v2s, zone war, arena, or scrims for the rest of your day playing. The best way to get better at the game is to just play, but if you focus in on your weak points, you will see improvements faster. So that's why I go about this. Warm up your weak skill and then hop into your regular practice. Me personally, what I've been doing is usually Kovacs in the morning, and then I've been practicing my free building because I want to get really consistent just edit coursing forever. But then with the rest of my day, I'm usually playing arena, running scrims, or practicing in creative against really good players. I'll have a more in-depth detail about like my entire day, even outside of Fortnite soon. But now let's center in on specific skills. Once again, timestamps are down below if you want to skip to your weakest point. First off, aim. How do we get better at aim? I like to run Kovacs. A lot of people say Kovacs doesn't help with your aim, but Kovacs 100% helps you improve your control over your mouse. This only applies to keyboard and mouse players. Controller sadly doesn't really have much on Kovacs, but that's okay. Recently, I've been running Kovacs benchmarks, which is basically Kovacs ranked mode. In this, you get placed into a rank, and as you beat your scores, you'll be put up ranks until you get all the way to the highest one, which is Grandmaster. Once again, that's really good for getting your mouse control better, but in-game maps are the best way to improve in-game. The maps I recommend are Aim Duels or Raiders Solo Aim Trainer. Aim Duels is 1v1, so you'd be going up against another player, but if you don't have another player to go against, hop into Raiders Solo Aim Trainer. All these codes are going to be down in the description. In the Solo Aim Trainer, there's just a bot you're going against like you're seeing on screen. You can also practice glider tracking. This stuff helps so much. Every time I run this in the morning, I feel like I hit twice as many shots in-game, I swear. It may take a bit of time for this to actually apply to in-game, but I'm telling you, it is worth grinding. The other map I really recommend is the 200 pump map. This is a map where you can only kill a player if you hit a perfect 200 pump. This helps train your mind to aim for the head and get more consistent at hitting max pumps, which is game changing. There's a couple different maps. The one I'm in on screen right now has the pump shotgun, but Scented released a map with the new guns. I don't know if it fills though. This map's good for aim, but it also practices your building because you can edit course around. The last way that's really helpful in improving your aim is running 1v1s because that is fast-paced fighting practice. You're just never-ending fighting, so you're never-ending getting aim training and building and everything. 1v1s is the best all-around fighting practice, I swear. As long as if you're fighting players that are around your skill level or better. I'm a personal believer where you should practice your aim every day if you really want to stay consistent with it. So I do aim and then I add another weak point to my practice. The next one is building, editing, and piece control. I personally feel like all these kind of go hand in hand. So there's 5 ways to improve in this category. The first one is to learn new building retakes. I've attached some really good ones down in the description for you to build off of. We got beginner ones, intermediate ones, and Kemi's just released a crazy one that has 20 retakes that are all really useful. That's a really good way to just build overall building knowledge and just get better at building and editing in the game. Plus, if you can master retakes, it often leads to piece control through the retakes. Another way you can improve while improving your aim is the headshot map, like I talked about in the aim category. You hop into this map, you only kill people with a perfect 200 pump, and you can build around while doing so. It's a 2-for-1 special. The third way is the Raider mechanic map. This has so many useful things for improving your building. This is one of my go-tos. In this map, I'll do the piece control tunnels where you just literally build through a tunnel. Try to claim every single build along the way, and you shoot targets and try to set up optimal peaks. But there's also drills like peak training. In the peak training map, you practice piece controlling the target and you practice your peaks. If you over peak, don't do an optimal enough peak, you're going to get hit. There's different difficulties, easy, medium, hard. So if you're getting hit by the medium one, you can go to easy until you master that. But this was my go-to while I was trying to get more optimal peaks while also practicing optimal piece control. What you need to try to do is do piece controls from behind right-hand peaks like I'm doing here. Like I'll place the cones and walls through a window when I'm boxing the robot. There's also a free build AI map where there's just a ton of enemies around and you can practice edit coursing towards them. This is a great way to improve your edit coursing. For me, this kind of had a similar feel to actual in-game because there's so many robots that it makes it a little bit laggy. I found this really helpful. And then there's also a free build part of this map where you can change the speed while you're building. You just shoot the little targets on the side, you can go half speed while you're trying to learn new retakes, which will make it way easier. And then you can speed it up as you get better. The fourth way in this category is Raiders Piece Control map. This is similar to the mech map, but it's going to provide you with new drills. Just an FYI, if you're confused about any of these maps and how to use them, I do have videos explaining them in more detail. Some of them are on my other channel, but I'll try to link some useful tutorials down in the description as well. I'm trying to put everything down there for you. The last way to improve building and editing, and you should usually end your day with this when you're trying to improve in this category, 1v1s. Try to find players that are around your level or better and just invite them to 1v1. Build a friend group. That should give you a lot of ways to practice your building and editing, so let's move on to peaks. I talked about this a bit before, but the Raider mechanical map has a great peak training part of the map. You practice doing piece control from behind cover and then setting up super optimal peaks. If your peak isn't optimal enough, you'll get hit by the target. To also practice your peaks, I recommend doing Raiders realistic box fights. This map practices close quarter fights, and in close quarter fights, you often need better peaks. So practicing in this map is a great way to improve your peaks, and you're also going to gain fighting experience. The last way I find really useful to practice your peaks is in late game arena. The reason I say this is because late game arena gives you fast-paced fighting practice against a lot of players, and there's a lot of really bad players in there that are just going to try to spray into your box. This will train you to peek in a way that doesn't let them in your box, learning when to hold, making sure you're always setting up optimal peaks so you don't get 200 pumped by someone that's just not building. Like, you know what I mean? You can practice being super optimal in late game arena. Now, those are the main skills that I recommend practicing in your warm-up. I have attached other tutorials down in the description that you do need to know, and you could practice these in your warm-up as well, such as every phase trick in the game. Learning that is going to be mad useful, and you can learn that in your warm-up. Fighting tricks, those could be useful in your warm-up as well. But that's all for the warm-ups. Let's move into the main session activities where you're actually going to be playing the game. These are the things that I typically do in the middle of the day to get better. So first off, we're going to talk about mid-game fighting. This will help you in your early game as well. The places I practice mid-game fighting are, first off, 1v1 realistics. This is literally a simulated mid-game fight. You can do 2v2s and 3v3s as well. Just a reminder, challenge yourself. Don't go up against people that you can beat 10-0. Keep trying to find people that are around your skill level. The second way is the 1v1 realistic box fights like I said before. This will be more up close practice, but it's a similar idea as the 1v1 realistics. And then the third one, of course, is arena. Especially now, I've been practicing arena a ton to get used to the new guns, the new map, the new locations. I've been spending probably half my time in arena. If you struggle in arena, just keep pushing through because eventually it's going to start clicking and you're going to start winning more fights. But you need to struggle to get there. This applies with anything in this video. You may struggle at first, you may struggle for a while, you may feel like you're never gonna get better, but you will. For example, Ken and I have been playing Vital Scrims recently, and we were struggling big time. Placing at the bottom of the leaderboard, not making it to end games, and if we did, dying right away, or dying to Storm Surge. But just the other day, we placed first by a landslide on the ladder of Vital Scrims. And then the next day, we placed fifth, and we would have got first, but Ken was AFK the last game. All in all I'm trying to say is just keep pushing because the stuff does click with time. The fourth thing you can use to practice your mid-game fighting is late game arena, ironically enough, because late game arena is just a W key fest. You get fast-paced fighting practice. And then the last way is via fighting tutorials. Just watching somebody else explain their thought process with fighting will help you learn so much. A lot of fighting in Fortnite is learning patterns of players and learning how players think, how they react to certain situations, and if you can watch somebody's tutorials such as me and Ken's, you should learn how to counter a lot of different things in the game that are going to happen to you as well. The next main session activity is endgame practice. If you're more of a beginner, I really recommend sitting in this map called 32 Player Zone Wars. This usually fills on my region, and it's one of the sweatier Zone War maps. It's not realistic, but it will help you gain comfort in an endgame, because there is a lot of stuff going on in this map, and people get really aggressive, so it'll help get you in the mindset of an endgame. If you're looking for something similar that's a bit more serious, play in people's games where they're hosting Zone Wars or Late Game Arena. I host games, there's a guy named OG Lucky that hosts games, and there's a lot of other people on Twitch. You could literally just put in the search bar hosting Zone Wars and try to find a stream that's hosting some Zone Wars that look like good practice. Next up is obviously scrims. That's the best endgame practice, and it is going to help you improve overall, but it's going to be tough. Like I said, Ken and I struggled for a while, and we're finally starting to get some momentum going in scrims. We're learning so much from grinding scrims daily, I'll tell you. I've attached names of scrims down in the description for every server, so go ahead and explore those. I also host in my own server fairly often. My scrims are more of like an open tournament type feel, because we have players of all skill levels playing, from pros to absolute beginners. So you could play in those as well. I usually throw money in. That's pretty much the whole spiel. I hope you guys learned something new and have stuff to grind. Let's say you're focusing on building for a little while. Once you feel like you've learned a lot, make sure you're switching it up and maybe hopping into peaks, hopping into other categories so that you don't get washed in those categories. If you have a crazy amount of time, you could practice all of them at the start of your warm-ups. Me personally, I focus on one or two. Like I said, aim every single day, and then I'll hop into another one. But yeah, guys, that's all for today. I got fighting tutorials coming soon, all sorts of stuff, so stay tuned, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.